Well guys, it's just going to be a video of me riding a short little distance back home after a beautiful day out riding. Show you some of the leaves again. They're still holding on, and they're pretty. They're still pretty. They're starting to fall. They're not going to hold on much longer, especially if we get a strong wind. But they're still holding on. This is one of my favorite roads to rip, but we got some traffic because it is about time for everybody to be going home from work. So that's probably what's going on here. See if I can get around this pickup. Don't know if there's any really good spot to pass or not around here. We're already getting to the twisties, so it's going to be a little tougher. But we'll see. I think maybe... No, we're already into the twists. Anyway, pickup's doing pretty good though. Hauling ass. Until we get to the sharp corner and they're like, whoa, shit. But anyway, so I'm just gonna rant about whatever. What do I think of? What do I daydream about? Let's see, while I'm working. I'm gonna talk about what I daydream about while I'm working. I daydream about cars and motorcycles pretty much all the time. So lately, all I've been thinking about, what super sport bike am I going to buy by next spring? Like I said before, I sold my CBR 1000, and the intention is to get a new super sport by next spring. I was really leaning towards the new Fireblade RRR SP, but they're having some issues with them. It's a first-year bike, so I always kind of fear that a little bit, and they are having some issues. I've heard of some engines popping. I've heard of electronic issues. All sorts of little bugs to work out, so probably not going to get one of them. I've thought about getting a 2019 holdover SP. There are a couple of them left in the country. A really good price on them. But that's the old stock, right? I mean, that's the bike that hadn't really changed the CBR since 2008. I mean, little bit of fairing differences, little bit here and there, you know, some upgrades, but the engine itself is basically the same engine. So the SP version's a little bit tighter tolerances and stuff, but you get what I'm saying. It's still what I had, basically. I might as well just kept my bike. So you guys know I had an RSV4, a 2015 model, and it had some issues, but I loved the power. I loved the sound. I loved the look of it. And the new one, the 21, I really like. A lot of people don't. I love the look of it. They've worked out bugs. They've changed stuff in the engine that's supposed to have made it better. They've done a lot of stuff to make the bike a better all-around bike. It supposedly handles better. Best handling bike that they in the reviews for 21. So I'm really leaning towards the RSV4. Do I want to spend the extra $8,000 for the factory version with the electronic suspension and stuff? I haven't decided for sure, because $8,000 is a lot of money, but I really like the look of the factory better, and I'd like to have the electronic suspension and stuff for the street riding. If I was buying a track bike, you'd set your suspension up for the track and call it good, right? But that electronic suspension riding on the street and that bike having cruise control, it'd be nice to be able to, you know, let it adjust itself, set it on softer settings, whatever, for just cruising down the highway, or being able to adjust it instantly to stiffer when you're riding in the twisties. So That's one of them I'm really leaning towards. I've looked at the BMW S1000RR. I like it. It's cool. I don't like the belly pan on it. I'm not a real big fan of the exhaust is basically your belly pan. Well, if you want to put aftermarket exhaust and do a cat delete and stuff, now it's going to look kind of funky. Then you got to buy an aftermarket belly pan. So I don't know. And the Ducati Panigale and the RSV4 knocked it off its top spot in the reviews this year. So it's going to need to do some changing too to actually be back in the top spot. The ZX10 actually has the top spot out of the big four right now. I've thought about it. The price is really reasonable. I love the looks of it. I'm not a real... Kawasaki's my second favorite Jap bike, but I'm just, man, it's hard to not have a Honda unless you're gonna go completely exotic, is kind of the way my brain thinks. So I'm kind of leaning away from that too. The GSX-R is a tried and true, proven bike, but it's getting old, boys. It's getting old. Boys and girls, I should say. She's dated and could really use some upgrading. You know, the Yamaha R1. I shouldn't be this way. I just cannot get it out of my head. I cannot stand Yamahas. I just can't do it. And I've owned a couple. I've owned a few over the years, actually. And every one of them has basically left a sour taste in my mouth, and it's wrecked me for them. I can't get over it. And I'm not going to put down a Yamaha, because right now, lately, they've had the number one as far as reliability and stuff. But because they put such a sour taste in my mouth, I just can't bring myself to buy one. And the Ducati Panigale, man, the only bad thing you hear about them is how hot they get, and they cook you from the bottom up. But other than that, I mean, everything about them now is just phenomenal, right? Most power, best handling, just all around. It won the shootout. But man, the price, guys, oh my god, it just pains me to think that I need to spend $30,000 to $40,000 for a motorcycle. You know, I mean, it kills me to even think about $25,000, but most of them are getting up in that range, you know. So anyway, I don't know what to do for sure. Like I said, I'm leaning towards the RSV4, and I'm leaning towards spending the extra $8,000 to get all the electronic stuff, because Aprilia has been working on their electronics pretty hard for the last few years, and you don't hear much about bugs anymore like they used to have. So that's what I'm leaning towards. We'll see. I got to get some other stuff done, and I have told myself I am not financing anything anymore. I want to be debt free in the next 5 years or so, and be able to start traveling a lot more. Maybe even semi-retire is kind of what my plan is. So that's kind of my goal. So I want to try and have all the money built up to buy a brand new bike without having to finance it. So that being said, that $8,000 might come into play come towards spring, and I don't have a bike yet and I want one. That might come into play. But right now I'm leaning towards the factory version of the RSV4. And I'll keep my CB1000. And I'm going to look for something to crush some miles on still too. Still leaning towards an Africa Twin Adventure Sport or a Goldwing. I mean, I might actually get a Goldwing just because for crushing miles on the highway, you can't get a better bike. So I like the Harleys. I love the way they sound and stuff, but I want a bike, like I said, I want to semi-retire. I want these bikes that I buy to be my last bikes that I own, basically. At least the one that I'm going to crush miles on. So the Goldwing is kind of what I'm leaning towards, because it'll last me well over 100,000 miles. And all my bikes are going to have cruise control no matter what I buy. So just because it's so much nicer when you're on a road like this to set your cruise and just be able to relax. Alright guys, that's my rant. Just trying to get some video content for you guys, keep my videos rolling for the algorithms on YouTube. And it's going to be harder to do come winter here, because it won't be as much riding. Even though we ride year round down here in Oklahoma, they still got to pick and choose your days, because there's some days where you're not going to be able to, because there will be ice on the road. So anyway, adopt, don't shop. We'll catch you on the flip side, guys. Ride safe. Later.